She crouched behind a rocky outcrop, Winchester Model 70 resting steady against her shoulder. Through the scope, the distant figure of the so-called native ghost shimmered like a mirage. Every muscle in her body tightened, every breath measured. One shot, one chance. The Navy SEALs nearby assumed she was merely observing, waiting for orders. They had no idea. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're rewatching from. I love knowing who's listening. The sun cut through clouds, scattering across the terrain in jagged rays. Dust stirred in the air, brushing against her cheeks, entering her eyes. She tasted it on her tongue, felt it in her throat. A tremor ran through her fingers, but not in her resolve. Not today. She had trained for this moment, and now the distance mocked her skill. 3,700 meters. Possible for most. But she wasn't most. Every heartbeat felt loud enough to echo across the valley. She adjusted for wind drift, elevation, humidity variables that would shatter a lesser marksman's concentration. Around her, the SEALs moved with quiet efficiency, unaware that the shot that could decide this engagement would come from the woman they barely acknowledged. They thought she was an observer. She knew she was the key. The native ghost shifted slightly, unaware of the eyes tracking her from miles away. A life hung in the balance, stakes twisting tight around her chest. She swallowed the fear and focused on the rhythm of training drilled into her bones. She thought she'd never see him again. She was wrong. Time slowed. Every movement, every sound exaggerated, the faint whistling of wind, the brush of loose gravel, the distant calls of wildlife interrupted by the chaos of battle. Her breathing was steady. Her heartbeat synced to the pulse of the rifle. She remembered her mentor's words. A true sharpshooter doesn't aim at what's there, but at what it will be when the bullet arrives. Her eyes softened with clarity. The wind's subtle tug, the slope of the land, the distance all, were now allies, not obstacles. A bead of sweat traced her temple. She adjusted the scope one last time. Fingers gripped the stock, mind cleared. She squeezed the trigger. The bullet tore through the air, a whisper of metal and resolve, defying distance and doubt. Downrange, the native ghost stumbled, disoriented, then fell, the fight shifting in an instant. The SEALs froze, staring across the canyon, disbelief etched into every face. A whisper ran through the ranks, a recognition of something extraordinary. The impossible had become real. She exhaled slowly, letting the adrenaline ease, but not the weight of responsibility. Around her, dust danced in golden shafts of light. The canyon seemed to breathe again, the tension dissipating like mist. She had changed the course of the engagement, but at the same time, she carried the moral weight of a life ended calculated, necessary, and solemn. The SEAL commander approached, eyes wide, respect silently communicated. No words could capture the magnitude of what had just occurred. He offered a nod, one that spoke volumes in the language of warriors. Recognition without fanfare, validation without applause. Her hands trembled slightly as she lowered the rifle, not from fear, but from the release of concentrated effort. The valley remained silent for a heartbeat, absorbing the significance. Then, slowly, murmurs and quiet exhalations of awe spread among the team. They had witnessed precision, courage, and mastery beyond expectation. She thought about the lessons behind every shot: patience, discipline, focus, and the quiet confidence to act when the world doubts you. The Winchester Model 70 was a tool, but the skill, courage, and moral clarity came from within. That combination had just altered the battlefield. Because true skill doesn't shout, it whispers, measured and precise. Because courage doesn't boast, it acts unwavering. Because impact isn't always immediate, it echoes, shaping the story of those who witness it. Later, as the dust settled and the team regrouped, she sat quietly, reflecting on the shot. She did not boast. She simply allowed the weight of her achievement and responsibility to rest with her. Because power, precision, and bravery are never about recognition. They are about the choice to rise when others doubt and to act when it matters most. If this story inspired you, share your thoughts below and tell us where you're watching from. Subscribe to Whispered Words for more faceless, cinematic military stories where courage finds its way quietly but unmistakably.